Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the Hawkeye premiere. We're going to be talking about all of the new shows that are going to be coming to Asia and Pacific, and then hopefully everywhere else. We're going to be talking about some of the trailers that got released, plus this week's new Disney Plus original series that we're going to be talking about, including Just Beyond and also shows like Only Murders in the Building, etc. Now, before we go any further, thank you very much for joining us today. You can also subscribe to us on audio platforms, including iTunes and Spotify, and you can also subscribe on YouTube. Also a big thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon and YouTube channel members. Just a huge thanks for all of your support. It helps keep the lights on, keeps all the services going, because it costs money to have all the software that we use. So your support really makes a massive difference. You can support us from as little as $2 a month. So first off, a huge thank you to Sarah at the executive platinum level. Your support really means a lot to us. Plus Andrew, Jacob, Caleb, Red Marsman, Aero G, Andrew, Cody, Darren, The Juice, Lester, Lauren. And over on the YouTubes, a big hello and thank you to Diona, Ben, Raphael, Ice Cream Man, Adam Jones, Robert, J Blue, My VCR Still Works, Bina, Joshua, Adam, Dawn, Martin, Jeremy, and Sarah. Thank you very much for your support. Also, just a quick note as well, this coming Sunday, we're going to have an episode up on our other podcast feed where me and Jeremy talk about Haunted Mansion. I have decided that this is going to probably be the last of the Retro Club reviews. We've been doing it for about 2 years. And it's unfortunately this is not quite working out the way I had hoped. So we're going to be using that time to do other things a little bit more productive. But I just wanted to let everybody know. So that feed will be coming to an end. I might reread it up at some point, but at the minute I'm just going to be concentrating on doing other content instead of that time. So just heads up. Right, let's jump into it. James, this past week, Disney made quite a big announcement in regards to Hawkeye, which we're going to be getting the first 2 episodes dropping on Wednesday, the 24th of November. They're kind of doing the kickoff with lots of shows, 2 shows to kind of get us into it. Perfect for Thanksgiving. What did you think of that news?
I enjoy it. Give us as many episodes as we can reasonably consume. So not the whole series, but give us a couple. It does tell me that probably the first episode doesn't have enough of a hook to that Disney's confident it can do it by itself. We've seen that plenty of times with Disney content, WandaVision being the most obvious to jump to my mind. But it's not a bad idea for brand new series to get the first 2 episodes. It really does help people get into it.
Well, I think especially as well with this one, because this is a six episode one, I do feel like by the second episode, you're probably going to be much more invested because you've basically invested almost like a movie in that point. But also with the Thanksgiving Day weekend, it kind of means that everyone might have a little bit more time, much more likely to do it. Many more people are going to be tuning in, get more people watching it, more people talking about it. It also frees them up then for when Boba Fett drops at the end of December. You've not got that because I was worried about that crossover day when we got end of one season and beginning of a new season. Like, where's the conversation going to go? That's going to be really. I didn't think that was a great idea for them to do, but I think this is a much better way of them doing it.
I suspect that was a big driving force, keeping the 2 of those shows out of the way, because they are both subscription sellers. They're both the ones that people will re-up specifically to watch that, and having them not overlapping gives you that 1 extra week of people just going, oh yeah, let's keep our subscription because now Boba Fett's coming out.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty much, I think, with Disney Plus Day coming up in a few weeks' time, they're going to be trying to get you guys signed up for a whole year if you're not already. Personally, I think, with the amount of Marvel and Star Wars shows coming, if you're one of those fans, you're going to get your money's worth. And if you enjoy both years, you're definitely going to get your money's worth. But for me, yeah, I think that was a good idea. They are really heavily going in on this Thanksgiving Day weekend, because it's not just a Hawkeye series that's dropping. We're then getting this new Beatles documentary that's going to be dropping, Get Back, which really is going to be fun. I mean, it's a bit of an odd one. They're actually going to be dropping 3 episodes, and they're all going to be dropping on the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, on the 25th, the 26th, and the 20th. So literally that week, we're getting Hawkeye on the Wednesday, and then this Beatles documentary in 3 parts for 4 days straight. and it's being made by Peter Jackson. It was going to be like a movie that was released in cinemas, and it was so much footage that they ended up turning it into this documentary. And it's a really weird one because I feel like there's a lot of people excited about it, but then there's a whole load of people that I feel like, is this the Disney Plus audience? I'm still not 100% sure many kids or many of the teenagers watching Disney Plus are really going to be that interested in a band from the 60s.
I mean, it is the Beatles. Even if the next generation doesn't know them as well as previous generations, they are influential. Maybe they don't like the music, but you have to acknowledge the influence. I think the main thing is, though, we do kind of have to get off the idea that there is one core audience of Disney Plus at this point. So the Beatles documentary, yeah, it's probably not for the 10-year-olds, the 14-year-olds, the 15-year-olds. This is more for our generation, maybe even our parents' generation, people who grew up with the Beatles still being an active band. And that's fine. You know, that we can have the Beatles and similar content, and they can have Doogie Kamealoha and things like that. And I think that's a fair trade, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm interested. I mean, I've always liked the Beatles music. You know, I've kind of grown up with it. You know, obviously being British, it was just something that was always on. You know, be it the Yellow Submarine as a kid, or you know, Thomas the Tank Engine with Ringo. It was just ever since far back as I can remember. You know, the Beatles have had an influence. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I was actually listening to the Get Back album yesterday on Spotify, and I'll probably be listening to that quite a bit over the coming weeks. Because there's like the number of songs they're just classics, you just know. And then there's a load of stuff there that I wasn't too sure on. So I thought, you know, I'm just going to get ready for this release. And yeah, it's going to have so much footage. I think the trailer to me didn't necessarily sell it to me anymore. It's kind of one of those odd ones. It's going to be hard. I think it's going to be a hard slug if you're maybe just a casual fan. I think 6 hours of footage is going to be hard to watch. But this is, for me, all about setting up Disney Plus in that tone of having something different. This is going to, like you say, appeal to a different demographic, and that's a good thing. It's what we need on Disney Plus. We need this, especially in the United States. We need much more variety, and I'm really glad that this one is one of those things that's moved over from being a cinema release to Disney Plus, but at the same time, it then completely changed format. So it wasn't just like, okay, you know, we're releasing a movie. You know, it went from a 2-hour movie to a 6-hour documentary. Maybe it worked out for the best of, you know, actually shifting this one over to Disney Plus.
I mean, we saw how well it worked for the Disney Park Experience one, the run right all the way back at the beginning when this launched. That was a fantastic series, and there was no way that was going to work as an hour and a half or hour 45-minute movie. Also, Peter Jackson being involved, you know, obviously famous for the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the original one, and ever since then, my main complaint with Peter Jackson movies, everything he's done since Lord of the Rings, was like, this dude needs an editor. He needs somebody who's willing to go to his movies and just chop them up. Looking at you, King Kong, here. But if they're like, okay, there's no way we can get this down into a 2-hour movie. Let's make it into a 3 or 4 2-hour things and give him all the space that he needs to tell the story he wants. Then that works out best for everybody. That said, you know, I don't know that much about the Beatles. I know the basics. I know the names. I know the songs. I know a little bit of the background stuff. But I think this documentary is for me because I have astonishing little knowledge of the Beatles.
Yeah, no, I think this is going to be a lot of fun and just very different. And I feel like there was obviously they filmed so much of it, and you know there was just so much footage. But yeah, I mean, he said there's over 150 hours of unheard audio, which has all been brilliantly restored. And I know when I was listening to the album yesterday, because they've released like a deluxe version they got different takes of the music and stuff like that. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. I am looking forward to it, and it's just nice to have something coming on Disney Plus that is completely like off center from where we normally are. So yeah, 4 days on a row with some fantastic content dropping on Disney Plus. Yeah, I think the fact that they call it a experience, the 3-part event, you know, they've got an idea in mind of what they're looking at with this.
Well, between this and what was it, the Queen sing along that they announced for the Disney Channel?
Yeah.
It sounds like they're they really have this for musical audiences. Looking forward to both of those, and I hope they continue to do that. I mean, obviously we've had the Taylor Swift, we had Billie Eilish, keep bringing them on it, and go for multi-generational. Give us stuff that's Taylor Swift, give us stuff that's current generation.
If they could have got that Adele, if they could have got something with Adele this week, that would have been a big hit.
That would have been a big hit. And then I don't know if we were going to talk about this next or not, but with all the APAC stuff, we saw that there's a number of Korean K-pop documentaries coming in as well.
Well, we're gonna do that one. We'll do that one about. There's just something I just wanted to bring up here with regards to this Queen sing along that you just reminded me of. So this one is the Queen family sing along, and it is called the fourth installment. Now we've had the first 3 installments drop onto Disney Plus, so I think that instantly means to me, well, if we've had the first 3, I'm pretty sure we'll get the 4th one. And the fact that Miss Piggy stars in one of these instantly then have just kind of gone, yeah, this is not quite going to be Bohemian Rhapsody. This is going to be a bit different. So it's going to be airing on ABC in the US on November the 4th. So then I suspect it will drop maybe a week later on Disney Plus as a pure guess. It might even be the next day. But the fact that Miss Piggy's involved just said to me, yeah, this is a Disney event.
No, the fact that it's a sing along and we've got cover bands covering it. I mean, some of those bands are pretty big in their own names, so calling them cover bands.
One Republic, and Fall Out Boy kind of stood out to me. Yeah. I'm not quite sure about Derek Who. Doesn't he do like the Strictly Come Dancing version in the US? Yeah,
I have no idea.
I think so.
But yeah, I recognized about half of the names and bands on that list. But either way, the difference between just having the Queen music videos with the words on the bottom and then having other bands doing Queen songs is pretty big. Yeah. That said, it is Queen. That they are an extremely popular band. They're not who I would necessarily pick for a sing-along because having...
but that's so great to sing along to. That's why. Sit in your car.
No. It's great to sing along to by yourself. It is not great to have your Uncle Ricky or whoever trying to hit the high notes that Freddie Mercury is the only person on the planet who can hit. You know?
But I think the trouble as well, especially with Wayne's World, I think that just sets our generation up for the rest of our lives with that movie. I remember being on a school trip when I was 12 to France. And I think the only tape we had on the entire bus was the Queen's greatest hits. So I had like a whole week of just, and I think at that point that was me hooked for life. I'm looking forward to this one. It should be a lot of fun. It's going to be cheesy, but yeah, I am looking forward to this one too.
That is one of my favorite running gags in the Good Omens book. That every tape, given long enough, will eventually become a Queen's greatest hits. It's just, it's such an absurd thing. But yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to not watching it with other people so I can sing along and not feel self-conscious about it.
Oh, silhouette.
That wasn't actually bad, but it also clearly was not trying to mimic the Freddie Mercury style.
Anyway,
and there comes the copyright strike.
Yeah, there we go. Right, so let's now talk. This past week, Disney held a special event in Asia and Pacific regions, which includes Japan, South Korea. It also had Hong Kong, Taiwan. It also includes Indonesia and Australia. It doesn't include India. For some reason, that doesn't get included in this because that's kind of like the hot star territory. So they announced that they're going to be creating over 50 new original shows by 2023, of which they've announced at least 20 of them that are going to be coming in the next couple of years. And they're going to be creating these all over the place. These are going to be coming from Japan, Korea, Indonesia. There's one that we knew about for a while ago, which was Shipwreck Australia. That's the only Australian one they announced. But there's a lot of exciting stuff in here. And one of the things that was very, very interesting, and it was not just said by one person, it was said by a couple of people at the top of Disney, where, for example, there's a quick word here where they say, we are now, we're sharing authentic stories that reflect the unique culture and social dynamics from this region to a global audience. And then also, Luke Kang, who is the president, he also said something different along the lines of, to deepen our collaboration with the region's best content creators to deliver unparalleled storytelling to a global audience. And even the Japanese Twitter page was putting up some of the anime stuff saying, delivered to the world. So this pretty much is at this point now of these are international. They seem to have got the idea now that if you're going to make something, you want to use it, and you want to use it around the world. I just like the fact that they're doing this. Some of the Latin America stuff they've been talking about as well of global, and for me, this is all very exciting. Because I worked out if there's 50 in APAC, 50 in or 60 now in Europe. I think there's 70 plus in Latin America. And then you got to add all the Northern American ones in there. In the next 3 to 4 years, you could be looking at 300 to 400 originals. That's a lot.
Yeah, and we've been asking for this content for a long time. It's not going to appeal to everybody. We get that some people are only going to want to watch from a specific region or a specific type of show. That's fine. There's no one's going to be sitting here going, you have to watch the Disney anime, watch Star Wars Visions. If it's not your thing, then it's not your thing. But it is a thing for a lot of people, especially the APAC content from Korea and Japan. This will bring a lot of people in. I don't know if it'll bring subscribers in outside of the region, obviously not for the people in the region that they don't have a choice at the moment, but like Americans, I don't think it'll create new subscribers for Disney Plus, but it will keep a lot of subscribers. It'll prevent that churn.
I don't know necessarily if it's about it might help bring in audiences within these countries, that speak, if you've got a Korean family, you're going to get that in. But also, anime is very popular with a large sub audience. Same thing with Korean drama as well. That can be, as we know right now with Squid Game, it can be massive hits. I'm really hoping that things like Squid Game have helped set this up the last couple of weeks, and like with Money Heist and all the rest of it, where Disney have gone, maybe we should do that, because ultimately it's a roll of a dice. It's like with South Korean shows. Not every single show is like Squid Game and that big. They can release 500 of them and only one has been a hit. But ultimately, they've made those 500, and if you like them, you like them. But it's not really going to cost them a massive amount more to release it internationally. If they've already done the dubbing and all the subtitles, it just sounds to me. It's more about making Disney Plus a global streaming service to compete with net. Leaving that whole kind of, it's the Disney Vault, and this little collection of, Disney movies that come out from animated, and now we're getting so much stuff, and it is becoming properly competitive. And I feel like this is the only way they're going to be able to compete with Netflix overall, and they have to have local content. As much as like Disney animated movies and stuff work, and Marvel and Star Wars work in many countries, there is something about local content and stories told for that audience, and especially in a native language. That's, we see it. I mean, I can see even just like with us, with, in England and, the UK and stuff, there's certain shows that if they are made with a British accent, I know Home Alone, Sweet Home Alone is going to be such a hit here because it's got an English accent. But things like that make a difference, and I think that, it is all going to have a big impact on that stuff.
Well, and you alluded, actually just basically flat out stated it earlier. When you're in a foreign country and there's media in that country that appeals to your original, your native country, that tends to draw people in, because as much as you may love the content in your adoptive country, there's something about home that appeals to everybody. And sometimes it's nice to be like, no, this is my content here, and I'm glad that I've got it as well, and then everyone else gets to experience it as well. I mean, if you're a Korean living in America, it must be great to have some Korean content coming in, so you can kind of get that little taste of home again.
And also, I think we're just going to see a lot of them, especially like with Disney Plus Hotstar. That content is going to be rolling out as well at some point, I suspect. But let's run through some of the things that kind of. So I'll go through this quite quickly, because some of them. So we've got Moving, which is a show all about three teenagers discovering their unusual powers. Snowdrop, which stars Korean actor Jung Han-hee and Blackpink's Jisoo. Now, I'm going to be honest. I put up this article on social media. It got picked up by people in South Korea. I've never seen my notifications go so crazy about anything since Blackpink. Since it's a big drama about, or it stars her as she's kind of it's just a big new drama, and it's just people are just so excited about that one. To tie in with that one, they're also releasing a documentary it's not really a documentary, but like a live gig show as well, featuring her band. And this week my Twitter notifications. If you sent me something and mentioned me, I've probably not seen it because there's 10, 20,000 in there. It's just like, I've never seen anything like it in my life. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of interest in the South Korean K-dramas I've never seen in my life on my feed. So it's called Blackpink the Movie, which is it's all about the Korean pop group, which I didn't even know about. And I'm going to say everyone it's great. I was joking with my wife the other day. It's like, I was talking about Bollywood that I need to start paying more attention to. Japanese anime and Korean dramas are now high on my list. So my wife was just like, really?
I'm sure your wife was thrilled.
She thought it was quite funny actually, because it was like, oh yeah, at least you're watching something other than Disney cartoons.
Until she realizes that you're watching documentaries about K-pop groups of questionably aged women. And
yes,
I have to admit, I saw the Blackpink and like, what's Blackpink?
Yeah,
and it's like K-pop, and my mind immediately is like, okay, this is going to be something. I had no idea how big this band was. Apparently, they're huge.
Yes,
and no, my experience with Korean music is Gangnam Style. I mean, from like years ago when that was like the song. Of the
I love that.
That's about it.
I'll be honest, I have a really bad regret. One of my biggest regrets in my life was I went to South Korea on a flight to Australia, and we stopped there for like 10 hours, and the music in the airport, and I didn't realize they had a trip that would have taken you around Seoul. And my one regret is that I didn't get out and see Seoul when I was there, and it's constantly on my mind. And ever since then, I've always made sure that whenever I do a long haul like that, I would make sure I stopped off. Like when I went to Australia the second time, I spent a week in Japan on the way out, because my regret of not going and seeing Seoul when I was there. So that's kind of, but yes, it's just things like that. So I'm definitely into,
So what I'm thinking is 1 week, instead of doing a Q&A, you and I should pop on and we should live stream listening to Blackpink and just be like, what the heck is this? I imagine it'll be,
yes,
it would be a thing.
Yes, it definitely would be. It's either going to be great or awful. We're also going to be getting a couple of other new shows. We're going to be getting Grid, which is a new drama series. Also be getting Rookies, which is going to have a K-pop idol, Kang Daniel, and he is also extremely popular. I can assure you that. We talked about it recently. Tokyo Mer, Mobile Emergency Room, is one coming from Japan, which I'm actually really interested in that at all. I like all the hospital drama stuff. So setting it in Tokyo, that sounds like it could be different.
I think it'll be very interesting to see how different emergency rooms or medical rooms work in Japan or Korea than in America. Now, of course, seen through the filter of drama, I'm sure that their emergency rooms are as close to accurate as our shows are.
No, I always joke with my wife because she works in a hospital. And they go, "Oh, we need this stat. Oh, we need that." She goes, "We don't say that. It's just in TV shows." Things like that. We're also going to be getting some new anime. We're getting Black Rock Shooter Downfall, which is a reboot animation of Black Rock Shooter, which is a popular character with global fans that has spawned music, action figures, games, and animation. Summertime Rendering is going to be a brand new Japanese anime as well, based on one of the top manga comics. So Yu-Jon Han Time Machine Blues, which is a sequel to the Tatami Galaxy. Sorry if I'm completely destroying how to pronounce this stuff. The one I'm really excited for, Twisted Wonderland, which is an anime adaptation of the Disney's popular mobile game. It's kind of funny. It's going to be, I think a lot of people are going to be interested in that one there. Now, it's made Kingdom Hearts even higher on everyone's expectations. Now they've started announcing animes. We're also be getting Bad Signal, which is about a hotel employees managing a classy resort in West Java. Which I actually, to be honest, I quite like. That got me of like, let all the hotels run this really expensive hotel in Indonesia. That sounds pretty cool. A couple of other ones here that we've got. So let's see here. We've got Delicacy's Destiny, which is a Chinese period drama, which is it's a food rom-com. So that sounds pretty cool. Like I said, we're going to get that Shipwreck Hunters from Australia. And then there's loads more stuff being announced as well. It really is, to me, just the advantage of just having something different, having something fresh, having something unique. And that's what all of these originals are going to do. They're just going to give us some brand new. And I love the idea of us getting some different stories and something set somewhere else. It just makes all the difference. And so I was really excited about this. I'm definitely, there's a lot of things there, which I know the anime stuff is going to be very popular. It definitely looks like the K-pop drama stuff is going to be really popular as well. But yeah, I think everyone's eyes are on this a lot more at the minute with Squid Game. I think there's a lot more people like paying attention. I mean, I've enjoyed anime and manga since I was like a teenager. I just think this is cool. I mean, we've seen the success of like Shang-Chi as well. There's a lot of stuff out there right now, which I think it's just great to see different content dropping in for the masses. And it's all, and if all of this, and by the same, I mean, there might be some restrictions. Some of the stuff might not arrive everywhere, but they were very open about it being a global thing for this.
Yeah, and it's also good it's coming onto Disney Plus, because thus far they've been very good about making sure that foreign content, no matter where it's from, is dubbed and subtitled into just like every language that it's available in. Like I was watching Star Wars Visions back when it released, and it's like, maybe I should switch it over to Japanese, just see what it's like for a more authentic experience. And I went to the menu. It's like, would you like to watch this in Arabic and all sorts of languages? I'm like, oh, well, they really went all out and making sure everybody's got this content in a language they can follow.
And it makes sense as well, and especially with animation, it's actually probably more likely to be needed because it's something like translates much easier. I think animation as a whole, definitely feel like that's definitely something that's moving on there. Okay, so let's now shift gears. A couple of trailers to talk about today. We have got, as we've already talked about, the Get Back trailer. We saw Olaf Presents, which is going to be coming on Disney Plus Day. What did you think of this one?
I mean, it's Olaf. I'm sure it'll be entertaining. It's Olaf narrating the Disney universe, as it were. I think we've seen in the past Disney's not very good at parodying itself. So I'm not like super excited for it, but yeah, it'll be entertaining.
Yeah. I'll be honest, it's kind of okay. I'm not really fully that interested in it. I would say it's definitely something that you're just going to end up watching, and I think that is the kind of the problem with it. Is it does feel like something you're just going to end up just watching because it's funny for a few minutes, and then you're going to forget all about it and not even think about it. And I think that's definitely an issue with this whole thing, really, of just it's just more of the same. It's very safe, but it's going to have an audience, isn't it? And I think that's ultimately the key thing here for everyone is, just having this kind of content on there is just exactly what you want. Just more content like this. I mean, we're going to be getting Tangled, Moana, The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, and The Lion King. And he's just going to be retelling the stories.
Yeah, with his own flair, I'm sure, and side commentary. It's Frozen, so people are going to enjoy it. Olaf has obviously become kind of the face of Frozen in terms of media. Maybe not at the park, that might be more Elsa, but things like this tend to be Olaf's thing. It'll be something to watch on November 12th, but like you said, I think it'll fade away pretty quickly.
Yeah, so I think ultimately that one will be fun. What about Home Alone? That's going to be the other big thing. Is what we think of Home Alone. What did you think of the trailer for that one?
I kind of fell asleep during the trailer. I'm glad that, like you said earlier, it seems to be doing a British protagonist. So good. We'll get a different perspective on things. Your holiday season is going to be different than our holiday season. It's all that, but the kid doesn't have the charisma that Macaulay had back in the day, and neither of the villains seemed particularly as interesting as like Joe Pesci
No, yeah, because especially the kind of the guy. Is he Ted? Is he Ted Lasso? Does he play Ted Lasso in this one, or is it somebody
I,
else?
I honestly have no idea. I've never
Yeah,
seen Ted Lasso, although it's
me
been
neither.
heavily recommended to me in recent days. So that might
Yeah,
change in the near future. But
yeah. It's. I think for me, I think like for it is. It looked fun. I kind of I looked at it, watched, and went, oh yeah, yeah, that looks a lot of fun. Should be good. Um, and then I saw how much people hated it. Um, People really. I mean, if I just have a look here now, so I'm just going to have a look. Yesterday, when I'd looked, the actual trailer had, I think, more dislikes than. I mean, we're talking massively, massive difference in. Oh, I don't want to play it.
yeah.
Right, here we go. So if we have a look here now, so this is the official trailer. 16,000 likes,
Oof.
64,000 dislikes.
Ouch. That's a bad ratio.
That
right
is a
there.
bad. I mean, you normally get a little bit of a ratio difference, but yeah, that is pretty bad. That is, yeah, that says to me that people are not happy. I've never seen a Disney Plus thing get that before.
Yeah, and I think we can guess as well. It's not so much the content of the trailer. There was nothing in the trailer that was like, oh my goodness, what was Disney thinking with this? I think it's simply, why are you doing another? why are you doing another Home Alone movie? I mean,
Yeah.
we've had. I don't even know how many.
There's been
are
five.
There
There's
been
five. This is the sixth one, and I don't think most people realize it's actually a 3, 4, and a 5. And I think what got me was how much this was. Oh, this is a remake. I know they got a little bit of buzz pops up, and apparently Macaulay Culkin doesn't appear in it. He's kind of come out and said, "Look, I'm not in this. Well, good luck, guys, but I'm not in it." And I think it's more along the lines of, "Oh no, they have just straight up just copied it." You know, having I'm home alone. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how they play it up with the internet and with the telephones. Of, you know, they've got to play into that a little bit more. I think there is that part of me that feels like if you're an 8 to 10-year-old kid and you're watching Home Alone for the very first time, you're going to be sitting there being very confused, going, "Mum, why aren't anyone phoning him? Why isn't he getting on the internet? Why hasn't he got a mobile phone? Why isn't he, you know?" Why can't they Skype in? Why haven't they got webcams? Why, there's going to be, and there's like, it'd be like, what? No, what do you mean he didn't have them? And then the kid will just get, I mean, yeah, it'll keep it entertained with them whacking Joe Pesci. But it's got to be hard, I imagine. We can't understand it. And I feel like that's the thing. We don't think like that. And I imagine kids are watching Home Alone disconnecting. So this is almost like a reboot for a brand new generation. It'll be interesting to see how they all play this up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly that aspect, and they're going to have to address it in this movie in particular. It seems like there's going to be like a storm or something in Japan, which is where the family's at, and so that's probably going to disrupt communications and so on. But yeah, you watch the original Home Alone. It's like, well, why didn't they just send them an email real fast? And it's I do think that kids, if you sit down and watch it with them, they'll be generally accepted. Oh yeah, mommy and daddy didn't have cell phones back in the day. There was no way you could do it. You either caught them at the landline or you didn't. But generally speaking, the rest of the movie, if you ignore that, is pretty timeless. I mean, there's nothing in the movie where like, well, you couldn't do that now. Now it's Joe Pesci getting hit in the face with paint cans and having the knob be superheated and falling over micro machines and Hot Wheels and things like that. It does have that like Three Stooges timeless slapstick comedy. So there's no reason you couldn't just stick them in front of the original.
Yeah, it's for me, I definitely feel like it's something that it just looks a lot. It looks to me, it's for a new generation. It's not for us, and I feel that that's definitely a thing with this one. Of it's aimed at a new generation, and it could be a lot of fun, but I think we're always just going to compare it because it's so close to a remake. Almost like scene for scene kind of thing. But yeah,
there's certainly that.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, and I just feel like ultimately we are going to have that kind of thing with this one of people aren't going to give this one a fair shot. I am just really surprised at the reaction to this one. This might make Disney kind of go, whoa, hold on a minute, we can't. Maybe we need to tone this down a little bit. Or they're going to be. It depends on the ratings on the day. You know, if there's enough people watch it, yeah, it's fine. It's just it had a good reaction, and that's all we care about.
I mean, at the end of the day, that is the thing. The number of people who sit down and watch it will be the thing that determines whether or not they continue. And obviously, no matter what you rate it or post on the YouTube video, the movie's still going to happen. It's been made. It's happening. The thing that it might change is whether or not we get more of these remakes, pseudo remakes in the future of classic titles.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see how this moves forward with doing it all. But I definitely feel like for us, you know, we've just got to just see what it's like. Just see what it's like. Going with no expectations. I know the trouble is I think we're just going to always be comparing, and I don't think it's a fair comparison. This is a straight to streaming holiday movie. It's supposed to be cheap and sort of it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's the way I'm looking at it. Okay, so let's now move on to some of our reviews for the week. So quite a lot of stuff we're going to be talking about. So up first, let's talk about the main Disney Plus original release, which was Just Beyond, which was a series of 8 different episodes, all completely different. There was nothing kind of connecting them together. They're all just kind of spooky ones, all around about half an hour a piece. They all dropped onto Wednesday. So what did you think of them?
I made it through 2 of them before I couldn't force myself to do anymore. These were bad. I mean,
you really didn't like them.
I really did not like them. Maybe there were some waiting at the end of the series that were some hidden gems I would have liked, but
okay. So what 2 did you watch? That's to be the first bit.
So I watched the first 2, which at least on this side, the first one was I think I purged it from it. Oh, it was the Benedict Society, but stupid. It was the one where she goes off to a girls' school and they're mind controlling her, but Green Day came in to save the day. So there was that one, and then there was the second one where the 2 kids thought that their parents were aliens and were going to take them out into a cabin and kill them for whatever reason. And then they didn't. So.
Yeah, okay. I'll definitely feel like I did think the second one was the one with the squid tentacle things was a little bit lame. I will completely agree with that one. It kind of was probably one of the least favorites. Now I did watch all 8 because I was doing the reviews for them, and there were some that I liked and there were some that I didn't like. So the one with the school thing kind of got me into the series of going, okay, so this is. The fact that they're all about 25 minutes a piece helped, because they're very much the pacing of it's much faster, because it's kind of like, here's the setup, here who they are, here's what's going on, here's the end result, and we've done. It was all quite quick. You know, they was kind of quite quick to get through. They were slightly higher quality than like a Disney Channel show, which I did appreciate, but it's very much a family show. You know, it's not. I don't think it's kind of ironic. I think the kids that are playing it are too old to watch it. That was the kind of the irony of this one. I don't know if a 16, 17-year-old kid is really going to be that interested in this because it's a bit too tame. Now, there were some interesting stories with this one. So there was one where he ended up going to a parallel universe where his dad hadn't died, and they ended up building the tree house that they've been building together, and he kind of got closure to say goodbye kind of thing, which was kind of, it wasn't really spooky, but it kind of, I think, worked on that level. There was one which was really weird, and it had this girl, and this teacher gave her this access to a special app, and when she changed her filter, it changed what she looked like, and it got like a bit, she ended up looking really freaky because the plastic surgery was like getting out of her, her lips and her cheeks and everything. And it was a very, like, I would almost say it was probably the scariest of them all, because it's like, oh, this is really, like, this is much more realistic. Okay, the magic app which turned her into it obviously isn't, but the idea of that influence of you've got to look, the brain box has got to then, like, try and be this, this other person to kind of fit in. Eventually she ended up going to a house and destroying all the windows that the people's souls were in. It was a bit, it was a little bit it wasn't my favorite, but it was. You could kind of go, oh, that was a bit close to the nail in terms of storyline. There was one with this. I do think the actual introduction was probably the scariest thing of every episode because it's the same introduction for all of it. But I think that was more scary than the actual shows themselves.
I think going into this with the mindset that they're going to be scary probably isn't the right thing to do. I know they're billed that way. We're near Halloween.
Oh, the trailer just that. Yeah,
it's horror. It's horror. It's like, yeah, but actually, it's not. It's really not horror at all. And the few times when it did try to be horror that I saw, at least, is like, this is so over the top and so telegraphed. It's not scary in the slightest. I'm thinking of the second episode, which I guess we both.
Yeah, that wasn't scary. That was.
But they had that whole sequence where it's like, okay, we know the parents are aliens, and we think that the parents know that we know that they know, etc. And then they did this whole sequence of scenes where they'd come out with like a knife, and you're like, oh my god, they're gonna knife the kids to death.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh nope, it's just for the meat tray. And then he brings out the axe, and you're like, they're gonna axe the kid. I don't even know what the axe was for, honestly. But they were so over the top in the framing and the music and the drama of it. It's like, no, this is very obviously a false positive. There's going to be something completely innocent. It's like that sequence in the Simpsons early season where it's like Ned is going through his life and he's got all these vicious things, but no, he's cutting the cake or whatever.
Yeah. No, it's definitely one where I don't think actually dropping all 8 episodes. On one hand, it was good because the kids are probably going to want to binge it. But on the other hand, if you're like you, where you got 2 episodes in, you stop, right? And the trouble is like now of me turning around going, well, episode 7 was great. You've gone. You're out. You've checked out by now. Whereas if it was weekly, you might be more inclined to, I'll go check that one out because someone's been talking about it. It's I understand why they dropped all 8 episodes at once because I think it's for the kids. It's much more of a binge show. There was this one that had you see it, and this is like Slender Man. It's kind of like this really freaky looking creature in the hallways, and she ends up taming it because it's actually just her imagination kind of creating it.
Well, okay,
but it was
that's the bit right there. I obviously haven't seen that specific one, but that's the thing about R.L. Stine stories in general that gets me. I tried to not to lean into that because it's been 20 years since I've seen an R.L. Stine movie or read a book. So I'm like, nah, maybe I remember it wrong. But that's the thing, is when you get to the end of the show or the story, it almost always ends up being either completely benign or has some Deus Ex Machina or completely uninteresting resolution. So the first one, the girls are getting brainwashed, and then it turns out, well, all they have to do is listen to music. You listen to music and the brainwash goes away. It's like, okay, well that's
going to work in real life.
What's going to happen when they leave the school? They're just never going to listen to music ever. They're not going to go shopping at a big box store during Christmas. It's like there's nothing. I know, right? It's like there's nothing to this. The threat is literally mitigated by one of the most common things on the planet. And then the second one, the twist is literally, oh yeah, you're aliens too. Didn't you? Yeah, we're aliens, so obviously our kids are aliens. And the entire story is basically that store owner just kind of having fun with the kids and messing with their heads, and that's it. It's like you get to the end of it, it's like, wow, that was completely unsatisfying. There is nothing to this resolution that makes me go, oh, I'm so glad that didn't happen to me, or wow, that's such a huge threat. And that is a common thing with R.L. Stine stories. I'm not saying it happened to every episode. I can't speak to every episode, but that is a common thread in his stories where it's just like you get to the end, it's like, oh yeah, the threat wasn't actually a threat at all.
A couple of my things with them dropping so close or with them all at once was I just watched that one I said with the girl with the app. And so she's getting bullied and all this. So the next episode was the girl getting bullied because of not being friends with a friend at school. And there's all this thing with ghosts and stuff. But the first 10 minutes just was very distracting because it's like, well, we just did this story in the last episode. Obviously, it's like, okay, yeah, girl's getting bullied at school. It's like, I know it's a big story, but you just did it in the last episode. So therefore, it took a while to get going, and the ghost was just awful, and it was just that was a pretty low one. There was it was a very strange little collection of shorts, sort of series of some of. I don't know how this is going to work. I'm still trying to gauge the interest in it, because I mean, I put up a poll to find out if people are watching it. It's still very like lukewarm to it. Yeah, it kind of reminded me a little bit of like Erie, Indiana, that kind of stuff, like when I was a kid and watched this kind of stuff. Whereas it kind of makes out it's a lot more scary than it actually is. And I do think the anthology helps it because it sets it up differently. I mean, there was this whole other one with witches, and it was just silly, them all going to school, and she's trying to fit in and doesn't want to fit in. It's like, oh God, we keep just doing this high school thing over and over and over again.
Well, okay, so that's the other thing there. You mentioned it earlier as well with the actors and the age and stuff. It's like, what is the target audience for this? So of the two I saw, they were very blatantly, these are teenage issues. The first one is the girl is just at the age where she's starting to realize the world is not a great place, and that her generation is going to inherit this huge mess that that current generations are leaving for her. And the second one, of course, is literally puberty. I mean, they might have well had neon signs up going, this episode is about growing up and having puberty. But they're not the audience. Teenagers, like you said earlier, want something with more meat to it. Literally more meat, blood and gore and psychological terror and things like that. Yeah. And if they don't, then they're already going to be ignoring this.
I mean, my friends' kids, they are like 12 and 9. They're watching It, The Conjuring. I mean, they're watching stuff. I mean, I was over there the other day when we were watching stuff and I'm going, change the channel. It's a bit scary for the middle of the day for me. It's just like, they're 9 and, and he's running around pretending he's Pennywise and stuff. And it's like, this stuff for them is going to be like, it's just like kindergarten. I think the trouble is, I still think the people making this stuff have got this idea of what kids are like. I don't know. It's like they went to this like, oh, we're a teenager and we're going to be like this. And now we're going to go to a party and we're going to have the red cups. And like, well, if these kids like, who are you aiming this at? Is it, underage drinking kind of, party thing? And then the next minute, I don't know. It's a very strange one, I think, sometimes, of what Disney who they're trying to aim at with these kind of shows of, they're aiming at one audience, but I just have a feeling of like, are they aiming at what parents think that they would like at this age? That's what it feels like.
I think that's it, though. I think that they're not really sure, and they don't realize that teenagers. I don't think most 10 and 12-year-olds are watching It, but I could be wrong. but teenagers definitely. They want to watch It, The Conjuring. Heck, they'll watch even like Nightmare on Elm Street and the classics and things like that. But
I mean, I've got to say, Squid Game, because I saw one of my friends who's a parent going, why are there so many Roblox levels being made out of how are they building this and watching it? Like, that's because what they're really watching is they're watching, the kids are, they're watching Squid Game and then going and playing it in Roblox.
I actually forgot Roblox was a thing. I recognize
my friend's kid is so into it. He loves it.
I recognize that both Roblox and Minecraft are like the platform for everything. I've just somehow managed to never seen Roblox before. But I know about it. Anyway, that's not the point.
But that's what I'm saying. If like they're reenacting Squid Game in a then I don't know. I really wonder like of where Disney is going with this, like what they're making of. I just why so many shows are not connecting with the audience, because they're just not. I don't know what it is. These high school kids are just dealing with stuff that feels more like primary school stuff.
And that's the real disconnect here, because like. This is what I was getting at before. We're looking at teenage issues here. That as much as there might be like addressing of fake horror or mind bending stuff, this is really about issues that the teenagers are facing: puberty, and realizing the world isn't a great place, and maybe starting to lose family members, like the kid who wants to say goodbye to his father. But the actual content of the show is aimed much younger than that. To kids who are not yet going to be grappling with those in most cases. Obviously, some things will still be universal, and it'll depend entirely on life experiences. But for the most part, 10-year-olds are not worried about these issues yet.
No, it was a lot more well made than I was expecting. It was much higher quality, because I was expecting like a Disney Channel-esque show, but it was a little bit higher because it was made by 20th Television. So I do feel like it was. This would have been like in my day, it would have been like maybe a 6 o'clock, 6:30 show on Channel 4 kind of thing, or BBC Two of, in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer, that kind of, a little bit like in that, a little bit later, because it's not quite aimed at kids, but at the same time, like I said, I don't know, some of the stories just seems ludicrous.
I will give them that, though. The production values were good. Like the second episode, part of it is the aliens have tentacle arms. And okay, yeah, you can tell they're fake, but not in like the terrible 10-year-old media, like they're held up by puppet streams or no, they're pretty legitimate. That said, if anyone was planning on watching this or still wants to watch it, I would say just go to the source. Watch the Twilight Zone. Those are significantly better than this. These are like Twilight Zone with all the interesting parts cut out. Go to that instead. Go pull up a list of like the top 25 Twilight Zones, because there's literally hundreds of episodes, and watch those instead. Or if you want true horror, there's plenty of other options for that. And if you want fake horror, if you want like the Halloween movies for kids, go watch Hocus Pocus. And there's no matter what you're looking for, there's basically better options than this.
It's a bit of an odd one, but so that was the main Disney Plus release. We also had a new episode of Doogie MD. So did you happen to catch this week's episode, or are you tapped out now?
No, since we're kind of between the big releases at the moment, I was like, whatever, I'll just check it out. I did skip last week's episode. I was just like, you know what? I don't even need to see last week's episode. I'll just watch this one. What can I say about it? I mean, literally, it's the same thing over and
Nothing's
over.
happening, is it? Is it just me? It's like there's just no story.
The closest thing we've got to a story is her younger brother continually coming up with like, I'm an adult now things.
Yeah.
That is the only underlying story. I guess there's the dating thing, but that's honestly hasn't had anything since like episode 3.
I know, and the trouble is as well, it's like, oh, now she, not only is she, it's like they're doing all this TikToks, and it was just like, oh, it's like, this is so bad. I've just really and they're all like dancing and stuff, and going, oh, this is so boring. It's just like there's just nothing happened to it. As the kid, the brother story was a bit more interesting. She's not good enough for the doctors at the hospital. She's not good enough she didn't go to high school, so she hasn't got friends. But by the end of the episode, they've invited her over to a party to drink at, and the local high school kids that the cheerleaders, which by all accounts, according to movies and TV series, you never get, you're either in or out with them. There's no way of just turning up. And I was just a bit like, wow, she just went to head cheerleader on day 1. It was just like, I don't know. I just got to the end and going, this is such a bad show. It's just getting, I'm like 6 episodes in and going, nothing has happened. There is nothing different now than there happened in the first episode. And it's just like, oh, this is, I'm getting to that point going, I might just tap. I feel like if it wasn't the only thing on at the minute, I feel like, I've got 3 more episodes of this.
No, like I said, I decided to watch it simply because there was literally nothing else major coming out. We're between the Marvel releases, we're between the Star Wars releases. Sure, there's stuff on the Star side, obviously, and we'll be talking about those in a minute. But on the Disney Plus side, it's not as bad as it was back in 2020 when we had literally like, let's talk about the brain game or whatever, because it is literally the only thing coming out this week. Now we've got other options, but I mean, even Turner and Hooch is done. This is it, basically. I really don't know what Doogie. And again, if we've got the same problem, she's 16. She go out with the, I don't know. I just find it so. All I know is every 16. I know if she was working with adults, she would want to go drink with them. High school would be long gone. I mean, any 16-year-old doesn't want to be involved in high school. They want to be out drinking. That's just kind of standard. I don't know. It just feels, and all the characters are just so one-dimensional. There's just no depth to any of them. They're literally cookie cutters. I think that the fact that they've divided the show into, let's be generous and call it like a quarter medical, and the rest is high school, really does impact it, because you lose that quarter of the show that you could be kind of building up teenage storylines, and there's not nearly enough medical content for you to be going, oh no, it's ER or Grey's Anatomy, but but for younger audience. And it's like, no, it's literally present a problem, forget about the problem for the rest of the episode. Something jogs her thought process, house style, and then she fixes the problem. And you're like, cool, all right. We didn't even need that.
She's only got one patient as well.
Yeah, well, there's that too.
It's what got me. It's like suddenly I had time to be like, doing all this like high school like cheerleading stuff and all the practice and being in it and taking part in it in the middle of the day. Going, haven't you got rounds to do? Haven't you got jobs?
Aren't you supposed to like be helping people? And the thing is, we had that first episode, and her patient actually died in the first episode, not on screen. Obviously, it wasn't like in the ER or whatever, but. I looked at them like, oh, well, maybe they will actually tackle some difficult issues, and there will be times when she doesn't succeed. Well, we haven't had anything even remotely like that since then. It's literally just been a house for dummies since then.
Yeah. It's such a I'm definitely disappointed with the show. I if you're going to be ranking the live action series, I think this is. I actually think like Diary of a Future President is better than this, and I mean that was very much a show, but at least it had the story with Bobby that was kind of interesting. This is just so bland. I mean, I think this is even worse than Mighty Ducks.
At least with the Mighty Ducks, you could look at it and go, it probably got screwed up by COVID. They probably wanted to do a lot of things. You can see hints in there of storylines that they wanted to do but weren't able to do. Whereas Doogie Howser, I can't even, not even call it Doogie Kamealoha. I'm sure it was impacted by COVID. Obviously, it was produced in the last year or so, but not at the beginning. They would have already known that they had to change their shooting schedule around COVID. So it's like, if these were the changes you made, I realize it wasn't because you couldn't just refilm it. You decided to film it this way.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like just a bland, such a bland vanilla show. If this was an ice cream, it would be cheap vanilla. That's basically there's just nothing to it.
It's like that soft serve vanilla that just doesn't taste like anything. It just tastes like cold, you know?
Yeah. Other than the setting in Hawaii, I mean, if they set this in like Chicago, it would be completely like. Ugh.
Well, if they set it in Chicago, it might be more exciting because then you got but whatever. It is kind of a waste of the Hawaiian. Actually, some of the best bits in the show thus far have mostly been her father talking about what it's been like living in Hawaii, like his aloha thing. I think he got his kid into hula, or actually his kid wanted to get into hula dance because all the girls were doing it. But those are some of the best bits in the show when the setting gets to be part of the show.
Yeah. I think as well, it doesn't help with the whole thing at the end where she's just like looks at the camera and kind of makes them really cheesy, like. I don't know. Again, she hasn't got time to do the editing for these videos. That's the thing. And she's doing TikTok, and she's doing around. It's just like I don't know about you, but it's like when my wife gets back from hospital, it's like, she's not got time I'm going to do TikTok for 4 hours and then make some YouTube videos.
Yeah, no, I'm sure your wife has been on her feet the entire time. I want to be on the couch and I want to just veg out in front of a TV show. Give us some Walking Dead or American Horror Story.
Yeah. Right. So let's shift over now to some good telly. So let's talk now. We got a new episode of Only Murders in the Building. So again, I'm on the American, Canadian, Australian timeline. So UK for some reason is a week behind. So this is the penultimate episode. What did you think of this week's episode?
Being the penultimate episode, you could kind of tell that they were waiting till the end of the episode to really drop all the important bits, but it was still
right. I think I'm still right for what I said last week.
Oh no, I think we agreed on it. We're like, no.
There was a fake out.
There was a fake out, and I think we even mentioned last week. It's like, no, just because what happened to her doesn't mean she's out of the running. The ending was pretty blatant. Like, there's something going on here. But it was the build up to the ending where a lot of it was just kind of characters wandering around going, we're done. But there's still a murderer. And then we're going to have this meeting in the lobby where everyone's just like a complete jerk to each other. And
but it's New York, isn't it? And that's what that's supposed to be. New York's supposed to be like, isn't it?
I mean, pretty much. Although the I don't know what she is, the HOA owner or the manager of the building, she's a bit over the top, even by New York standards. I really wanted her to be the murderer because I was
Yeah.
like, either.
I think it's just about, she goes, well, if you're murdering people, will you just knock it off?
That was a good line. Just stop murdering people. That was a good line. And I'm actually glad they brought up the fact that these guys doing a podcast about the building was an invasion of privacy of everyone else in the building. And they're like, and people were obviously not happy about that. Obviously they're gonna do something that keeps them in the building at the end of next episode. But we already know there's a season 2. But yeah,
I loved Jane Lynch being brought in as a stunt double.
Oh my!
That was so random, and all the little jokes that went alongside.
That was actually perfect. I don't know if we knew Jane Lynch was in this or not.
I think she hid, but I completely forgot about it. And I really, it's like, in one hand, actually, it's like, well, why we didn't need her? It didn't do anything, but at the same time, there were so many jokes that came off of it.
Even just the small things, like where he'd be eating cereal and she would be perfectly mimicking how he was eating the cereal or adjusting his glasses. And it's just like, you can tell they put effort into this one-off joke. And I mean, Jane Lynch is normally good in just about everything she's been in. So
I just liked it when like Martin Short walked in and he's just like, he just didn't, he's like, we had some work done. It's like, he's a foot tall.
Actually, everyone's reactions to her were the best. It's like everyone mistaking her for him and then just doing like double takes when he's like, no, I'm over here, guys. And I don't know. It's not necessarily important to the plot, although she did offer insights, which were important. But at the same time, it was just like, you know what? I kind of needed an episode of just some silliness and comedy, and Jane Lynch provided it perfectly.
Well, the thing is, it's got, you know, the actors involved in here, you know, they're not known for their high end drama, and I like the fact that this is like this weird mix of comedy and drama. It's like, I don't know, it's just really refreshing. I've just really, I can't believe like next week's the last episode, and I'm just like, I've really enjoyed this series. It's been such a breath of fresh air from everything else going on right now.
I'm glad that we already know there's a second season on the way. I'm looking forward to the second season. Obviously, I'm looking forward to the climax. Up to this point, I've kind of not been watching them as they come out. I've normally middle of the week and just like, oh yeah, I should watch this. Let's pop that on. And I am looking forward to it, but it's not been an immediate, I have to watch this the second it becomes available. This episode, the final episode, I will be like, I'm going to be, it is on. Here we go. And because I'm not on the East Coast, it actually will be dropping like Sunday night for me. Yeah. Like right before I go to bed. So I'm definitely going to watch it before I go to bed.
You know, I'm just really looking forward to this one. There's a great series. Then we've also got Why the Last Man. So we're getting new episodes of that drop every week on the UK. I think it was the seventh episode this week.
I think so.
Because we had that first free drop. So this one here was again, just a lot of it set in the supermarket where some really weird stuff going on with like rebirth of women, like burying them, and that was a bit odd.
The Amazons,
and then you had this whole thing as well going on, like with who is, you know, the Republican trying to track down the secret agent who like took down the helicopter. So with still no idea of the sun. Just again, I am enjoying this series because it's sometimes you have a bit of a comparison to The Walking Dead because of like there was the finale of The Walking Dead was on Monday as well, but they're so different. They are so completely different tone with all this stuff going on with the parties and all the rest of it. No, I am enjoying it. It's definitely a slow burner. It feels like the speed's dropped off a little bit on it. But then I think I remember reading like the creator has planned like 5 seasons. You know, they've got like a long-edged idea for this series. I'm just really enjoying it. I'm just thinking it's such a cool little show.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I can definitely see The Walking Dead comparison. I've thought it myself several times. The key difference being that The Walking Dead, at least you have that zombie element where you can be like, we have to unite against the zombies. We may hate each other. We may not get along or even agree on things, but if we don't work together, the zombies are going to eat us all. This does not have that. And it's intentional. They're literally like, nope, you just got to fend for yourself and find your food and find your survival, and that's it. There's no unifying factor other than maybe trying to figure out what's.
Yeah, so I think just as a whole, like Why the Last Man really is just kind of like just a fun, different kind of series. Definitely, just kind of giving us lots of different things to look forward to each week. It's going to be interesting where it goes because obviously we're building up into the finale, so it's going to have to start revving up a little bit, you know, because they're still quite a way away from San Francisco. Where is it going to? Because it doesn't feel like we're. I mean, the only thing I can think of is that they're going to find out about him in the Republican is going to find out about them. I thought it was also very interesting throughout the whole subplot with that woman that wants obviously the baby, you know, because she's obviously desperate to have it.
Dr. Mann, or are we talking about the woman who's pregnant in the White House?
Yeah, the one in the White House.
Yeah, we'll see where that one's going because I think it's less about the baby and more about who controls the baby. Because that one woman definitely seems to be angling for like, I want to use this baby as my as like a rallying cry for the Republican women.
I think it's much more simple than that. I think it's just a fact. I think it's much more on the lines of she built herself around having kids and was a mum, and she's lost it, and she just wants. I think she just wants to be a mum because she's missing her own kid. I thought it was while there's that because that finger, yes, she could use it against it, but I still think there's that part of like I just want a baby, and I think a little bit more just basic need rather than there being a bigger motive.
That's true. I had not considered that angle. And also this character, as near as I can tell, is not in the comics. So whatever story they decide to go with her will be new and interesting. So definitely looking forward to that. I just want to step back to the slow burn aspect of it. And when I sat down to watch it this week, I'm like, wait, episode 7. Are we really all that far into this series already? And how much has happened? Not an incredible amount.
Yeah, it's kind of like plateaued in the middle here, isn't it? It's kind of like with a big, you know, it took to the end of season 3 or episode 3 before things started happening, and things have just been very slow. And it's definitely in that zone. If it's not, it isn't moving anywhere near as fast as because I know like we're Walking Dead. So obviously we had the season finale of the first third of this new season, you know, and there's big action scenes, there's loads of you got zombies being sliced up all over the place, and therefore that brings together that because that's always the good thing with The Walking Dead is at any given point just bring zombies in and they got some action, you know, there's just this, you know, on demand, right, we need to bring the pace up and there we go, we can just bring zombies. Whereas this one here, you know, they got the woman chasing after him, but they couldn't really do it. And then like I said, whatever's going on with the Amazons, you know, in the Amazon warehouse, that's just really weird. I mean, it's like the detective is kind of like, I don't know if over to the idea nothing, it doesn't have to go back to what it was, you know, the way we used to be. And very, very interesting way to take on it in such a different way.
Yeah, and this is another thing that didn't show up in the comics until much later. When we first meet Hope, Yorick's sister, who's the kind of point of view character in that whole scene, she's already been radicalized. She's already a member of the Amazons. I don't know if they're going to continue that story or she's going to break free from them. But in the comics, we meet her as an Amazon. We had none of this until later. So it's kind of interesting that they're playing around with it and showing this kind of otherwise fairly rational person getting drawn into what is basically a cult. I mean, it's pretty much a cult at this point. And they've got the flowers in the hair and they're doing the dunking people underwater after burying them in dirt. And it's like, okay, this is weird. But you can start to understand why she is getting into it.
Yeah, this is a very, very strange little series. But overall, again, some great stuff. Just a quick note as well. Obviously, this past week, I actually was able to go up to London for the London Film Festival. I got to go to the premiere, or the European premiere of Dopesick. So I got to watch the first 2 episodes. I don't know if the first 2 or the first 3 episodes dropped on Hulu in the United States this past week. While the event was great, unfortunately I can't actually talk about the series for a couple more weeks because it's not out until November the 12th internationally. I think they want to hold back on all that kind of information coming out. But I'll be talking about it at a later date when it comes. But that was obviously a major release in the US on Hulu. The why I'm not talking about it now. We also had new episodes of Reservation Dogs, but we're going to watch that. We're going to talk about that a little bit more next week due to timing restraints. And on that, really, that's kind of like this week's episode. As I said, we've had a few technical issues in this one here, so do apologize. We've been having issues and having to like jump around a little bit. But on that note, guys, thank you very much for joining us. We shall see you guys soon. Later. I'd like to thank all of our Patreon and YouTube channel members for their support. You can become a member from as little as $2 a month and you get access to our weekly Q&A and much more.